So, this is my weekly rant, I guess. What I want to discuss today is I was just going over some stuff this week, talking to people, watching YouTube relentlessly as usual. And a topic that's really interesting to me right now is people talking about relationships. Now, I am middle aged. My birthday's next month. I don't know how comfortable I am telling my age right now, but I'm older than y'all. Okay, just let's say that. You can guess whatever age you want. I don't want to tell my age because I don't want to tell too much of my business because I don't want people trying to steal my identity. I've been hacked on Instagram already. I'm tired of people stealing stuff from me. So yeah, y'all don't need to know all that. Um, One of the problems I'm having right now, I'm watching Manosphere and black women, people, just people fighting on YouTube. And the thing that a lot of people don't get is that relationships are about compromise. A lot of men like to be very controlling. And believe me, I was in a relationship. I was married. And I felt as though my ex-husband was very controlling, and I was a very free-spirited type of person, and I didn't realize how controlling I was. um, Nothing, and I lived in a fantasy world when I was a child. I'm an only child, so I knew that I wanted children. I knew that I wanted my children to have siblings. I knew that I wanted to have a husband because I didn't have a dad myself. I had a stepfather, and I didn't really get along with my stepfather because my stepfather was very controlling and my mother was very independent. So, and I would like to say that she was a very strong, independent woman. She had to take care of me by herself for 6 years. She's a super intelligent woman. She is amazing. Like, I'm not like her at all. And she's very inspirational. She's educated. She's a teacher. I had a lot to live up to looking at my mom. And yeah, nah. I knew that there were things that I wanted to have that she just couldn't give to me, like siblings. And that wasn't her fault. There, it wasn't her fault. She tried and she couldn't. So I knew that because of the things that she went through, um, that I had to, that's something I wanted. And that's something I wanted more than anything in the world because we had such a small family. It was just, as far as blood relatives are concerned, it was just me, my grandma, and my uncle. Now I had aunties and, I had my stepfather's family, and they didn't even realize that I wasn't related to them. So they were really like blood relatives to me, and they are still like blood relatives to me. And then I had, I just had a lot of people in my life. I had uncles. Besides my born uncle, I had my godfathers. I had my mom's best friend's brothers, and I had, my stepfather's brothers. So it's not like I didn't know men. I had, when going to school, I went to private school, and I had black friends, and I had one black friend who had an amazing black father, and she's a business owner right now. She's I hope she's doing well for herself, but she was an eccentric girl. She was very comfortable with herself. I love the fact that she wore a tuxedo to her our eighth grade graduation, and she didn't care what none of y'all thought. And she's amazing by herself, and I know a lot of amazing women. I don't like the fact that we've gotten to the point now in our especially in our culture, like, and our culture is under a microscope for the great things that we have, right? Everybody loves us now. Everybody wants to be us. I know that there's still some things that we are going through. It seems like it's not as bad as when I was a teenager, and it's definitely not as bad as when my mom was a teenager. When my mother was a teenager, if she went down south, she was not allowed to drink from certain water fountains. She was not allowed to go into certain places. Even up north where we live, there were certain things that she was not allowed to do as a black woman. She recently told me a story about how she was wearing braids to, I forgot what she said, but she was wearing braids to work. She's a teacher. Like, She wore braids to a workshop that she was conducting or teaching. And the supervisor told her that the next time she comes to the workshop, she can't wear braids. And he was like an Italian or something. And she was like, psst. And she wore her braids anyway. And this is the type of women that you guys are constantly putting down. You are constantly putting black women down for standing up for ourselves when we had no choice. You constantly are acting as if we chose to not have black men in our lives when our history shows that even before people were slaves, you know, we would take our babies, wrap our babies up and do our work. You know, we didn't rely on men too much. Maybe they brought the food home, hunter-gatherer type of stuff, but there were still girls that went out there and did that too. And we still did a lot of work. Even in the 20s and the 40s, when men went off to war, women were by themselves. Women have always been trained to be independent because you don't know if your man is coming home regardless. And you should value that about us instead of acting as if we need to just do every single thing you tell us to do. Because what if one day you are not there and we have to rely on ourselves? Stop telling women to be submissive and to do what you say and don't fight you. Allow a woman to be herself and be independent because we cannot always depend on you. You cannot sit here and pretend that you are dependable. You're not. It doesn't matter if you are at the moment. You never know what's going to happen. So women have to be independent. I live in a neighborhood where there are like a lot of white women, but these white women are not sitting at home chilling and being subservient to their men. I don't know where people get this from, because a lot of these white women are running PTA meetings. They are growing gardens. They're doing a lot, you know. And I was trying to be a part of that thing. It's exhausting. You know, there's things that you have to do as a woman to help your family. Even prior to that, women, you should be focused on yourself, and you should be putting things away for yourself, just in case something goes wrong. I remember there was an amazing movie with Angela Bassett, Paula Patton, I forgot who else was in it, but I think it was called Jumping the Broom. And so Paula Patton was the daughter. She came from a wealthy family. Angela Bassett played her mother, and the man, it was a guy, it was her dad. And the father was some kind of investment banker or something. They had this extravagant lifestyle. I think they lived in Martha's Vineyard or something like that. I don't know. Maybe the Hamptons. I have no idea. I forgot but the premise of the story was the fact that they were super rich, and she was marrying a black man who came from a single family background. Loretta Devine was his mother, and she worked at the post office, and she was a single mother. So Paula Patton was getting married to a man whose mother, you know, was a typical, stereotypical black mom, single mom, working hard, raising her child. She raised a successful son who happened to meet a beautiful woman and who came from a prominent family. Now, the end of this movie is why I'm telling you to stop telling women that they are not allowed to be independent, or stop mocking us for being independent, because the moral of the story was Angela Bassett's husband was making bad investments, and she thought that he was cheating on her, or the daughter thought, somebody thought, you know, they weren't sure what the dad was doing because he was being very secretive. They thought he was cheating. Turns out he was scrambling for his life because he lost all of the money making bad investments. So what ended up happening in the end, Angela Bassett was like, you lost the money, because everybody thought that her parents were going through divorce, and you know, there was a lot of other nuances, like they were trying to say, you know, being rich isn't always what it seems. Of course it's not. So everybody thought that the dad was cheating on the mom, when In fact, he wasn't cheating emotionally or physically, he was cheating financially, and he ended up losing the money. And so Angela Bassett was like, you know what, don't worry about it, because I had some money saved anyway. I have money. I had a backup. You know, and how are you supposed to do that? And I recall Meek Mills, I think, talking about something like that, where he ended up going to jail, and his wife, or I don't know who she was at the time, ended up taking money and investing in and flipping it and doing all this stuff, and ended up making more money with him in jail than, you know, having. She didn't have to depend on him. She knew what to do. So while you're out there telling women that they need to be submissive and they need to just do what you say, blah blah blah, you know, there are women out here doing themselves, being themselves, and saving the family, while you sit up there banging on your chest, thinking that you're doing everything. But this is the other thing. Do not control her. Do not tell her that she has to do that either, because she doesn't. I'm saying this for the women. Make sure you know how to do that before you get in a relationship. Focus on yourselves. I'm telling you this from experience. Like I said, I was in a relationship. I was married, and it, you know, stuff got crazy. And then he wanted me to stay home. He wanted me to not have to focus on being independent. Forced me, kind of. I hated it, because I had my own dreams, goals, and aspirations. And when you let yourself go, when you don't allow yourself to focus on the things that you wanted to do in your life for some man, even if you did have something going on, like look at Alicia Keys' situation. I mean, she still has a career and stuff, but don't nobody like her because she stole somebody's man. And the woman that she stole him from, that woman was very dependent on Mr. Swizz Beatz. And when he decided to leave, Masika, she was living in a dilapidated mansion with extra children, and she couldn't do anything for herself. And now she's a third wheel in some weird relationship, and I guess they're happy, but it looks crazy to the outside world, and it still looks like she's not being happy with herself, because where's her man? You know, where's her life? Why does she have to, you know, why is she a tag along? I don't get it. And maybe she's not, but I don't want to make assumptions, but that's just what it looks like. And I'm sure she's very happy. She, you know, now she gets money from him and her. Maybe that's the way it should be. Maybe everybody's happy. That might be they have to work and she gets to chill. But still, I know, being an artist myself, like I'm a creative person. I sing, and I'd like to have my own career. That wouldn't make me happy to just be sitting up under two people that are successful, and I haven't had my own success with my own music. So, you know, you're not going to be happy if you're just not focused on yourself first. Like they say, when the plane is going down, you put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on your children. And that's basically all I wanted to say today. I'm the prize, you're not the prize, the men are the prize, the women are the prize. That's bullshit. Seriously. Nobody's the prize unless they're happy with themselves. Focus on what you want, so that you can lead by example, and then your children will be able to be happy with themselves, because they're going to be able to do the things that they want to do. And especially if you have female children, even if you have male children, you know, love their moms. And if you are a whack mom, not whack, but if you're not happy, your sons and your daughters aren't going to be happy. They're going to be miserable, and they're not going to know what to do for themselves once their dad is out the picture. And their dad could be out of the pictures for many reasons, and especially with us black women nowadays. There was a young woman that just lost her life, and she was classified as somebody's baby mama. You know, young Thug's baby mama lost her life, and now these children don't have a mother. And do you see how quickly life can change? Life can change like that. And rest in peace to her, and condolences to her and her family. That's horrible. And like everybody's saying, black women are losing their lives too. Okay? Black women are losing their lives. There are so many black women that have lost their lives. Even just this past freaking week. Tracy Braxton, so many girls, so many women, so many black women. For foolish things, not even foolish, but for just horrible reasons. For things that, and they were so young. And the same thing can happen to black men. Black men are getting shot, they're getting killed, you know? So don't sit there and pretend like you don't have to focus on being who you need to be for yourself. You do. Be an independent woman, be an independent man. I tell my sons all the time, make sure you are an independent man. Focus on yourself. Don't worry about these chicks out here. Do what you need to do. If you don't have any money, you do not have the time to be worrying about no girl and what she's going to do. And I know it's hard because it's hormones and, you know, we have time limits to when we can have kids and stuff. But, no. If you are focused, you can do whatever you need to do. And definitely with the don't just sit there and just, even though black women, for us, we definitely want a black man because of the things that have happened, especially American black women, because of things that's happened to us in this country, in America, in the past. We want black men because they're the only ones that can understand us. I feel real awkward around white people sometimes because all I want to talk about is being black and how black things do this and African and what's going on, because we're still learning about ourselves. We didn't know too much about ourselves. We don't know where we came from. We don't know what's going on. We've been lied to, and that's a whole other subject. Like the fact that people are saying that we were slaves and we came from Africa. No, and the fact that people didn't even tell us that we were here before white people were here. You know, there's lots of stuff going on as being a black American, and that we would love to talk about, but you can't talk about that with white people all the time because they know what they know, and we know that a lot of stuff is a lie. So there's huge cultural differences, and it is kind of hard for us to get with those people. I mean, we do have allies there, and there are white men that, and women, that are starting to wake up and get it as well. And they're like, yeah, we get it. And I'm not saying I don't like people because of the color of their skin or because of the culture, because I grew up in an environment where we had to appreciate everybody's culture. We had an international day every year, which I looked forward to, which made me such a better person as a child, because I was like, oh wow, look at all this amazing food, look at all these amazing traditions. It made me feel like I can celebrate with those people. And nowadays it's like, oh, you're appropriating our culture. Don't you want to share your culture with people? I would love to share my culture with people, but, and then there's things between that, but yeah, relationships are about compromise, not just being submissive. And it's about letting that person be who they are. You fell in love with that person because of who that person is. You didn't fall in love with that person because if you fell in love. I mean, if you just got with somebody for the money, that's what happens. You don't expect to be happy. You're not going to be happy. But I'm telling you, for real, when you fall in love with somebody and you actually love them, even when things are rocky, I know this sounds so cliche, but when things are rough, they get better faster because at least you know that you're with each other and you can rely on each other. And the relationship that I'm in now, my partner now, like, I met him at a time when my life was destroyed, completely destroyed, and I just happened to meet him by circumstances. And we didn't have anything. We didn't have anything. I had nothing. He had a place to live. I had a place to stay. I had a place that I was living, but I really wasn't welcome there. And then I could have moved in with my mom, but but then I met him, and I just happened to meet him because at the time I was a mess. I needed a cigarette. I was roaming the streets. Not really roaming the streets like that, not anything crazy, but I was just out because I was depressed and I was sad, and I needed a cigarette to contemplate what the hell was going on with my life. How did I get here? And I just happened to have met him sitting outside of the local bar that was up the street from my house, and I was just like, "Does anybody have a cigarette?" He wasn't answering me. He was just looking at me like I was crazy, and I was looking at him like, I see you moving. You're not answering me. But now that I know him, I know that he just probably come out the bar and he was drinking, so he wasn't focused. And he smokes rolled up cigarettes, right? He calls them rollies. And the guy that was sitting next to him was a white guy who was smoking Newports or something. I just wanted anything. I smoked the Charms at the time, but I didn't have any. And everybody that was coming out of the bar was asking this white guy, for a cigarette. He was like, "Oh man, come on, I only have a little bit of cigarettes." So my boyfriend, my guy, he was just like, "Does nobody wants a rollie?" And I was like, "I want something. I want something to smoke because I'm stressed out right now. I need something." I had no money. I had nothing. He gave me a roll. I had to sit next to him because he was rolling up a cigarette, and I introduced myself and we started talking, and we ended up talking until 4 o'clock in the morning. We have been together now for almost almost 11 years. And I'm not saying everything was perfect, but it's a lot better than it was in the beginning. And the fact that he was just here for me for everything that I was going through. And I'm just amazed by him. Like, come to find out. And when I'm looking back, reflecting on my life, it's funny because when I was little, one of my favorite stories besides The Little Mermaid was Cinderella. I just loved Disney princesses, and I had aspired to be a Disney princess. And if I think about it, I kind of manifested it a little bit because I didn't know this man from a hole in the ground. And when you hear about a lot of stories and you hear about people talking about people, about how, especially like black people are making fun of the fact that there are black men that are running around talking about how we were kings. Believe me, we were. Okay. I know that you guys don't believe that, but you need to focus and listen. Just look stuff up. This is why we have our African connections now. We have Africans that come over. We have Caribbeans that have been here. We have our indigenous ancestors that are black that are telling us what happened. We pass our history down orally. So the funny thing, I gotta tell you this, and this is why this is so amazing to me. Like, even though it didn't happen the way I thought it was gonna happen, it kind of is a Cinderella story. We took a DNA test not recently, maybe a couple of years ago. Come to find out, my baby, whose father was the chief of the Mohawk tribe where he came from, and he's a black man. Okay, he's a black man. Gone through every black man trauma that there is. Come to find out, when he took his DNA test, that he is related to King Ramses III, an Egyptian king. And it's funny because I've had this tattoo. I don't know if I want to show it, but I've had this. Ooh, I'm too close to the camera. See my Eye of Ra with my hieroglyphic A in the middle? I've had that tattoo since I was 19 years old. So some kind of destiny was mentally preparing me all this time to be with this person. And I know a lot of people don't believe in that, but if you are truly looking for love and companionship and relationship, it's not going to happen traditionally the way you think it's going to happen, and it might not be planned. All you have to do is stay focused on you. Focus on your focus. And there's a destiny. God has destiny no matter what you do. There's a spiritual destiny for everything. Anyway, I'm just, starting this weekly vlog for myself, maybe daily, I don't know, just to reflect on my life and where I've been, where I want to go, and maybe leave something for my children to look at just in case anything ever happens to me. I'm worried about the world and the state of things, and hopefully, just little historical things for me. I'm praying for everybody. I'm praying for the state of the culture. And I love everyone. Love yourself. Be happy. Stay independent and stay focused. Don't worry about what this little internet craziness is all about. And it's true. If a woman is going to be submissive to a man who shows compromise, who compromises himself for her, she will be submissive automatically. Compromise. That is the key to a successful relationship, period. You cannot control a female, and a female, you cannot control your guy. You have got to compromise. That makes the best relationships. Peace, love. Prayers, blessings. God bless.